Thank you so much for continuing to hop on our Profit Playbook webinar series. We're getting close to the end. We have two more left before we hop into 2026, which feels like 2025 just absolutely flew by at jet speed. I am your host, Heather Haro. Mike, our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful business coach, is on with us. And today we're welcoming our friends from SiteLabs. So we have Paige and Darren from SiteLabs. I'm so glad that you guys joined us today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Likewise, great to be here.
So our biggest housekeeping is we don't run a tight ship around here. If you have questions, pop them in the chat and we will interrupt our friends to ask the questions because we are here for the pharmacists and to get answers for them. So they are allowed to be like unruly toddlers and pop their questions in the chat when something pops in their brain, which we love. It creates a conversation and really gets the burning questions answered. Before we move on, if I can get anything to work around here, the Pharmacy Profit Summit is coming up and the content from the stage is coming together like just fantastic. We all know that Lisa is fantastic at curating content, but the lineup that she has put together for you all this year is spectacular. Bigger space, bigger topics, more profits, all of those things. So if you have not gotten your ticket, go get your ticket now. Scan the QR code, take out your little phone, scan the QR code, go buy your ticket. If you are a Pharmacy Badass University member, please use the link inside of the membership. You get special pricing. We love our members. You get special pricing. So make sure you get that link so that Lisa doesn't yell at me if you guys buy the wrong link and then she has to do accounting, which we both hate. Speaking of Pharmacy Badass University, here is our roadmap, the way that we take you to being a badass. And today we're going to actually add a new revenue stream. And this one is one of your choice, is the way that it is on the membership site. But Paige and Darren have a fantastic way, and they're going to explain all of us from the top to the bottom and how we get involved in the whole 9 yards on how to add a new revenue stream to your pharmacy. So Darren, Paige, why don't you introduce us, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you are, and what you're doing here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Heather. I'm Paige Ralston. I'm the Director of Clinical Operations at SiteLabs. I've been here for about 4.5 years now. My background is in nursing. I've been a registered nurse for about 9 years, and I've spent, again, the last 4 or so years working with independent pharmacies. So during that time, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of independent pharmacies across the country, from supporting pharmacies through the pandemic to help them implement point of care testing, obtaining their CLIA waivers, to implementing screening as a service. So firsthand experience and witnessing the incredible impact independent pharmacies can have in their communities. So excited to be here.
That's fantastic. Darren?
Yeah, I'm Darren Shop, CEO, founder of SiteLabs. And just a little bit about my background. Most of my career was spent overseas in Africa, Southeast Asia, and particularly working with people affected by leprosy or other diseases. My background is actually on the anthropology side, not the medical side, but I found myself overseeing molecular biologists and others as we were really trying to figure out how do we get early detection out to the fringes of the health system, out to people who need it the most. And that is what I'm absolutely passionate about. How do we reach people who need this the most and give them better access to early detection and care? The other thing that I learned over the last 20 to 30 years has been the power that pharmacies have for Those of you who have traveled to Africa, Asia, Latin America, you've probably seen this, where pharmacies are used much more effectively overseas than we use them here in the US. And for decades it's been that way because there's just not enough physicians to go around, there's not enough medical infrastructure, and they're just a critical access point for communities. And so that was part of the genesis for starting SiteLabs about 5 years ago is let's that is really our future. We don't have enough physicians already as it is, and that's only going to get worse. And man, pharmacists have such incredible clinical training that can be leveraged even more and is going to become more and more valuable and more essential in the years to come. So that was kind of the genesis for starting SiteLabs and a little bit on my background.
That's fantastic. So that's a great segue into exactly the program that we're talking about today is really the pharmacist being the first point of contact for this trial. Why don't you take us through and tell us a little bit about the trial?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background is whereas we started, of course, during the pandemic, as Paige mentioned, and we helped pharmacies do simple point of care testing. Obviously, COVID testing was a huge thing. But we knew that there were so many other opportunities as they were becoming a new front door for healthcare access. And you guys lived through this, like you know exactly what this looks like. So just in the last few years, we have been rolling out additional programs, and we'll get to the clinical trial piece. But that has involved things like screening as a service, where as the demand for COVID testing and even flu, strep, RSV testing has waned a bit, and you all have probably seen that in your pharmacies, what we started doing is we charge health systems, for example, to do screenings like A1C and cholesterol, et cetera. And that is done through our independent pharmacy partners. And so that's just one of those models to really both help you reach people in your community and increase access to care and grow your bottom line. And that's where the pharmacy clinical trial program came up as well, is we knew that that was another example of how this could work is so for this program, I'll let Paige dive into the details, but we know from our partners, and you've probably seen this for yourselves, is that if you can find ways to impact your community, increase access to services to the patients and the community members you care about, and grow your bottom line, like that's exactly what the Badass program is about, right? Is how to have a greater impact and be financially viable in the same process. Then that's the why we do what we do. So I'll turn it over to Paige. She can kind of walk through some of the details of the program.
Yeah, and I just want to speak to that impact we observed, Darren, in that, one of our screening as a service models is, we deployed 6 pharmacies in the North Carolina area. And as Darren mentioned, we partnered with a health system, Cone Health, and we enabled these pharmacies to do the A1C, the lipid panel, glucose, set of vitals, and tremendous impact. With 6 pharmacies, we screened over 6,000 patients, 40 of which were unengaged. So 40% of those 6,000 patients hadn't seen a primary care doctor in over a year, or reported they didn't have continuous PCP care. So it was outstanding to see that in real time, what independent pharmacies can do in their community. And Darren's exactly right. So what we have launched is clinical trial recruitment. So our first clinical trial initiative is around colorectal cancer. So we are partnering with independent pharmacies to reach out into their community and their current patients and bring awareness of this trial opportunity. So our team walks through the study protocol with you. We go through a simple onboarding process. And then our marketing team, we do a deep dive, like, what are you doing now? How can we leverage those workflows? How can we reach more patients in your community? What partnerships do you have? Or What ideas do you have? So we partner with you, walk alongside you. We do the training, we provide the marketing materials, and then, um, ideally we'll bring more clinical trial opportunities um, to patients in your community. You present them with a QR code, and the patient fills out a very simple pre-screener to see if they qualify for this clinical trial. And then from there, if they do qualify, then the sponsor of the study, that enrollment team takes it from there. Um, so per successful enrollment, pharmacies can earn between 140 to 200, depending on what workflow is utilized to complete that pre-screener. And what am I missing, Darren?
What is the difference between the 140 reimbursement and the 200 reimbursement, Paige?
That's a great question. So there's two workflows, and we review that in the training on our onboarding training. Um, but the standard enrollment, that's a little bit lower of a lift. That's where you get that QR code out in front of your community and your patients. They scan it and they complete the pre-screener independently. Hybrid, that's a little bit more hands-on. That's when the pharmacist or the pharmacy tech walks through that short pre-screener with the patient. It's about 15 questions. And then if that patient successfully enrolls, that's a $200 payment to the pharmacy.
Okay, very good, very good. And so tell me, okay, so I am Heather's Pharmacy. I sign up
Mhm.
with you.
Mhm.
I say, okay, Paige, let's do this. I want to get
Mhm.
at least $140 a patient as
Yeah.
I get. So we create flyers. Members, you get flyers for free. Hint, hint. But we create a flyer. It has the QR code on it.
Mhm.
Everybody wears a button. Have you been tested or whatever marketing thing? Um, Before that happens, kind of walk me through the onboarding process for the
Yeah.
pharmacist. And
Mhm.
I heard you say a very important key that it was that technicians can do it. So this is not
Mhm.
on the actual pharmacist to walk through. I mean, you just said 6,000 patients. I mean, everybody wished it was 6,000 patients, but even
Mhm.
100 patients
Mhm.
can be entirely too much for a pharmacist. So this can be a team effort, not just the pharmacist. Explain
Mhm.
that part to me.
So as far as onboarding, Heather will provide you with a link to send out to your pharmacies, and they'll walk through a very short registration process. Should take less than 5 minutes. From there, our team, our clinical trial coordinator, will reach out and they will schedule a time for about a 30-minute Zoom to review the study protocol, all of the details. Um, and then our marketing team, they create a shared Google folder, and that will contain several marketing materials that are IRB approved. So think social media posts, flyers, bag stuffers, email templates, text message templates. So we provide that, and then just work alongside you to get the word out about the trial.
Okay. And then on that Zoom call, should it be
Mhm.
just the pharmacist or the entire team? Tell me who should be on that initial call.
Great question. It's up to the pharmacy. Some pharmacists like to have the entire team on that call. We're happy to do that. Some like for just to be the champion of the program, and then they train the rest of the staff. So either way is fine.
Okay. All right. So that seems pretty simple. It's a pretty three-step process. It's a one, click the link that we'll have in the replay.
Hmm.
Two, a call from your awesome coordinator. We'll give them a
Hmm.
call. They'll
Yep.
set up a Zoom call. You can
Hmm.
have yourself and your team or the champion, whoever
Hmm.
is going to really take onus of this program.
Hmm.
And then you're going to give them all of the marketing materials.
That is correct. Hmm.
Did I miss anything in there?
Yeah, I would just like to add we do provide weekly reporting, so we'll email you a weekly report of the number of clicks and scans and the number of survey qualified, etc. Show that pipeline of how your pharmacy is doing. So that's provided weekly, and we implement different bonus structures. Right now, we have a November challenge going. Um, For every pharmacy that gets 1,000 clicks or scans, they get $1,000 bonus. So we
Oh,
do
wow.
have those milestones from time to time.
That's exciting. Everybody could use $1,000.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so we've onboarded, we're ready to go. Tell me the best practices for your most successful pharmacist. Like how is the pharmacist with 6,000 folks in the trial? How have they just really knocked it out of the park? What strategies or what they do?
Yeah. Well, that 6,000 is the that screening as a service.
Sure.
Um, but when we think about our most successful pharmacies with this clinical trial recruitment, several pieces, I think it's really important to identify a champion of the program who's going to lead the initiative, motivate the rest of the staff. Um, Definitely spreading the word of the trial as broad as possible. So, doing outreach to your current patients, um, keeping an eye out for the coloprep that could indicate a upcoming colonoscopy, leveraging those existing relationships. You may be on site with an employer doing a flu vaccine clinic. Speak to that HR department. Hey, can you get the word out about this trial that our pharmacy is promoting? Um, so yeah, just implementing several different channels of
Yeah, and
community engagement.
I would add, Heather, that like the pharmacies that really do well tend to think beyond not only to their patient database, let's say they have a few thousand patients that are active and they can either send out SMSs and emails, and we provide all of that language. In
Okay.
fact, we can, even for social media, you can actually give our team your login. We can do postings on your behalf. Like there's a variety of things where we want to make it as easy as possible on you, and you're still getting paid for that, as Heather's Pharmacy, for example.
Right.
But the other thing is for our most successful partners, think to what are my other relationships in the community, as Paige mentioned. So employers, if for this particular trial for colorectal cancer, anybody who's 50 and above who needs a screening colonoscopy, like it's in their best interest. And many times HR departments love to give them that opportunity because for the patient in this trial, they get paid 350 to 450, I think it is, for participating. And this particular trial is comparing a colonoscopy that they get as part of it and paid for, they're buying their insurance, and a blood test that is screening for colon cancer. So it's not like you're not on a particular drug regimen, you're not getting a placebo, it's a diagnostic trial. And I mean, I wish I'd gotten paid to have my colonoscopy done. That would have been awesome. Um, and so it's good for the patient and thinking, okay, what local employers, what churches are around, what school systems. And that's where we see that ripple effect where the pharmacy is reaching more people. They're getting their brand out there and raising awareness. And that's where you can start thinking of, okay, we can get thousands of people aware. And that's when that's when that exponential success really goes up.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do we have any questions from anybody?
As people, I have a question for Darren and Paige. What kind of documentations do the pharmacies need? Is everything online? What do they have to do to make sure that they're, like you said, you have an advocate or somebody, your superstar in the pharmacy? What do they have to do to make sure they keep track of things and with the outreach and other stuff like that? Is there any documentation they should be doing, having in front of them?
Great question. So we do provide every pharmacy with an onboarding manual with, all of the information that they would need. They can reference that for trial details or workflows. As far as the patient workflow, everything is digital. So um, all of the flyers, the different marketing materials that we would provide, um, we track those QR codes. So we help the pharmacist track what's effective. Is the bag stuffer the most effective? Is the flyer most effective? Was that Facebook post most effective? So most of it is digital.
Okay.
Very good.
And is there any reason a pharmacy not to piggyback off of things like this as they're reaching out for colonoscopy, could they offer supplements and things like that as well? Is there anything against doing that to help, your outreach to a patient who may be needing a colonoscopy? What are they doing for their other care at that point? Do you have any problem with them doing that?
So it is important to remember that everything is strictly controlled by the IRB, or the Internal Review Board, for a pharma company as they're doing these trials. So it's very FDA regulated. What's really nice is the language around recruitment for the clinical trial is very specific. We provide that exact material. So if it's a flyer, if it's an email language, that has to be very specific. But the pharmacy has a lot of freedom, and we really encourage that. Like, use that opportunity to include other things. And then along with that, here's an opportunity for our
Right,
community,
right,
or for you as a patient. So, Mike, I love the way you're thinking about that. Like, this is all about extending your reach in the community and making it profitable while you do so. Like, from this trial, you should be able to be kind of in that 10,000, 20,000 a year, where you're adding that to your bottom line. For our screening as a service, we had pharmacies that made anywhere from 10,000 a year to 150,000 a year. And that's without any, we covered all the expenses on that. So it's really about thinking just like you're talking, Mike, like, how do we maximize this opportunity? Because this is one trial and we've got 5 to 7 or so in the pipeline, I think, Paige. So epilepsy and asthma and other things that will just, then it'll help keep that pipeline going, and that level of interaction that pharmacies can have with their patients.
Right, because we want them to look through their database as well and to find these patients, right? Have we communicated with them? Do we have them in our system, knowing that these people could be good candidates? How do we get them introduced and comfortable? Because it's going to take the pharmacy staff to nurture that.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
So we have some really good questions. Is there a limit to the number of clinical trial enrollees in this program? And is there a date that this clinical trial is scheduled to end?
Great question. So in the agreement that we signed with the pharmacy, we started 100 enrollees, but if a pharmacy is knocking it out of the park and there's still, we still have more enrollments, then absolutely we can extend that.
Okay.
This trial is going until December 2026, or until that recruitment cap is met.
Okay. So a whole year. We have a whole year to really work this program and cash in, so to speak.
And I'll say, just Heather, that on the CRC piece, the whole trial cap is around 18,000. And they will, whoever is having the most success in recruitment gets more of that pie overall. And so we know that if we've got high performers, you're just going to get more and more. And this is only one trial. We have another trial that has already been, the contract has been signed. It's supposed to start around March of next year. It's also for colorectal cancer. It's going to compare a stool test with the colonoscopy. So that is, and they need, I want to say it's over 20,000 for that trial. So you don't have to worry about running out of room here. Like, there's a lot of opportunity in addition to these other trials, like asthma and things that are perfect opportunities.
Right. Does it work in all states, or is there some states that you can't participate in?
This specific trial is nationwide.
Okay. All right. And are the patients paying out of pocket, or using insurance, or being paid to participate in the trial? I think you already mentioned that, but you want to go ahead and conquer that question again, Paige?
Right. So for their colonoscopy, that would be paid for by insurance. And then for participation, the patient receives a payment after they do that blood draw, and they receive a second payment once they provide their colonoscopy results.
Okay. And the last question, does SiteLabs coordinate with local labs for the patient, or is it already contracted through the FDA?
For the blood draw?
I'm sorry. No, not. Okay. Not labs. Sorry. The local clinic for the colonoscopy screening. So so if Miss Betty comes in and we scan her and she's a good candidate, she does her blood draw. Is is it a local company, or would she have to go out of the town? Like, is it going to be easy for Miss Betty to complete the entire study?
Great question. So for the blood draw, once a patient successfully passes that pre-screener, they'll get a phone call. They'll do a, an enrollment process, and they'll schedule a time for the phlebotomy company to come to the patient's house at a scheduled time. So that's how the blood draw is done, and so that makes it very easy for the patients. And then, as far as their colonoscopy, if a patient would need assistance in finding a GI doc, we do provide that in the onboarding packet. We provide a list of nearby GI clinics to the pharmacy so that the pharmacy could give their patients options if they need one.
That's very good. That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
The phlebotomist coming to the home makes it very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic. Any more questions, friends? So they can still get it with their GI doctor?
They can, yes. So, the ideal scenario is the patient already has a colonoscopy scheduled with their GI doc, and then they're just able to enroll in this trial and provide those results. Mm-hmm. So total patient choice on GI doc and where their colonoscopy is completed.
Very good. Very good.
Question on that. Does it matter what the patient's been going through? Will that information be gained from the pharmacy? In other words, these patients have these type of disease states, what the pharmacy may or may not know. Would you guys need to get further information from their provider?
No, so we will review basic inclusion-exclusion criteria with the pharmacy, and that pre-screener has some very basic inclusion exclusion to filter out. So, if they have an oncology diagnosis, or they have an extensive GI history, or, they're having symptoms that's warranting this colonoscopy, that would exclude a patient. But as far as a very extensive screening, the enrollment team handles that with the patient.
So that, trying to figure out who is applying the work and workflow and things like that. Thank you.
So the patient gets paid, the pharmacy gets paid. Can you repeat the amounts for each again?
Sure. So the pharmacy can get paid $140 for that standard workflow and $200 for that hybrid workflow per enrollment.
And the difference between that was the 140 is they scan a QR code and go through it themselves. And the 200 is they scan the QR code and your team helps them, guides them through the questions.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
For a patient, it was about 15 questions. So probably maybe a half hour a patient, 15, 20 minutes a patient.
Oh, yeah. I would say 10 to 15 minutes per patient.
Okay. Okay.
And then for patient payment, $350 to $450. There's different milestones that they get paid.
Okay. Very good. Sanjay, we will put all the information in. There wasn't a slide deck, but we'll put all the information in the replay that you will get tomorrow. And we'll outline all of it tomorrow. Well, I think this was we've got a few more questions. Okay. Do you have GI doctors or health systems participating in letting patients know of the trial to enroll them as well?
No, so our model is really partnering with independent pharmacies. Of course, some of our pharmacy partners are leveraging existing relationships with GI docs in their community.
Okay. And then
we do know that they are being utilized, though. Like, there are other recruiters who are using GI docs. Like, that does happen. And we have health systems, for example, MUSC in South Carolina. And we've talked to them about, can you get the word out as well? So those are all possible, but the main channel is really independent pharmacies using their network in the community. That's the main thing.
Yep. Yep. So yes, the email will show you how to sign up. It'll be an easy link that you can go, and you will go straight to Paige and Darren's team. And then Paige, gave us a great outline of what that would be. Is you fill out the form, you get a call from their coordinator to set up a Zoom call, which you can do by yourself or with your team. Mike's eye is twitching because he wants you to at least have another person there, so it does not fall on the pharmacist or the owner to do it all by themselves. And then you will get a marketing folder with all of your marketing materials, and you can begin to go. People already have ideas. They already have GI doctors that they can talk to. Okay, for $200 enrollment, do we guide the patient through screener, or does your company?
So for that hybrid enrollment, we're still working on that piece. So hoping to launch that in the next couple of weeks, but that'll be a back end screener that we'd provide your pharmacy. And pharmacy staff walks through that with the patient in person or over the phone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can the 200 for the max payment, can the patient call the pharmacy to help them, or does it have to be in person?
Yes, it can be over the phone.
Okay. These are great questions. One more question. Oh, yep. I just answered that, Mike. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will, to Shireen's point or her question, like the simplest process is to take the advertising materials that we provide and spread that as broadly as possible. Like there will be patients that you'll want to walk through, and that it increases your time commitment, but it also increases the likelihood that they'll be able to get through that successfully. But there's the lowest lift, when you think about maximizing your staff time, lowering your effort, maximizing that profit, is just make sure you get the materials out as widely as possible, and as quickly as possible. Because this is, especially at this time of the year, people are trying to finish up insurance paid screenings like this, and it's a good time to be doing it.
That's great. That's great. Any more questions? Is this only a limited patient size?
We will take as many patients as possible. I'm guessing you meant number of patients, not the actual patient size.
Yeah.
Clarification.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a very large cap on this. So to Joseph's question, like absolutely as many as you can recruit, then you'll get paid for.
Yeah, and they did say, Joe, that in the initial contract it says 100, but as soon as you start to reach that, then they will up your limit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you guys. This has been fantastic. Am I missing another question? Nope, I got them. So again, the link to sign up, Paige and Darren's information to contact them if you have more questions or think about more questions in the middle of the night. All of that information, and I'll make sure to put in an outline, really how well Paige explained what will happen. So what the onboarding process is, and then also the difference between the 140 and the 200. So we'll make sure to put all of those. Those seemed like the biggest questions of the day. So we'll be sure to add those in there. Thank you guys so much for sharing this with us. I hope to see lots of successful independent pharmacy owners with this. And then as you start bringing more trials on, we'll just have you keep coming on, and you can keep telling our friends about the other trials that they can add cash flow to their pharmacies. Again, Pharmacy Profit Summit is where you're going to find more strategies just like these. So make sure you go get your tickets. Pharmacy Badass University folks, go into the membership portal and use your discount code. If you are not a member yet, become a member. Check us out. See how well we are doing for our members, how well our members are improving their pharmacies. Thank you guys so much. I will see everybody in 2 weeks. We have another great probiotic specifically for the skin that's coming up. But for now, everybody have an awesome Thanksgiving. Love on your friends and families and communities, and I will see you guys all soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.